Welcome to South Asia. This is JRD, your articulate presenter at South Asia, bringing the vast knowledge to the audience, intellectually oriented audience of South Asia, south of Karakoram Mountains and north of sacred city of Kanyakumari. And please subscribe our educational channel and promote our intellectual cause. And today's the topic of discussion is about imperialism. Essentially means a dominating ideology where a country or a certain group possesses the land elsewhere. The land doesn't belong to them or a group. Diplomatic imperialism or political dominance or social dominance and all those things, a broad word of imperialism, which we know the Western imperialism is most common. A lot of people forget that religious imperialism of Christianity and Islam still in vogue today. That's what we are going to talk about. The language of Christian imperialism. In the last presentation, you look in my the YouTube channel and imperialism, the playlist, we have talked about Islamic imperialism and mapped it to 8 characters. The same 8 character feature we are going to talk today and discern the language of Christian imperialism. And these ideas are originally articulated by the greatest thinkers of the later part of 20th century, means 1950 to 2000. Mahayogi Sri Ram Swarup is a great rishi of modern times. His admirers are people who studied his ideas, his books, and realized that he is the greatest thinker, stood like a colossus in the last 4 decades in the final part of the 20th millennium. And also equally great thinker and scholar and publisher, intellectual Kshatriya and rishi of modern resurgent India, Sita Ram Goel ji is a very great thinker. If you study their books at Voice of India think tank intellectual movement, targeting or aiming to give the protection of native civilizations which are under severe attack by Islam, Christianity, communism and Western European colonialism, you will appreciate their talent. Sita Ram Goel ji, Rajarshi, passed away 2003 and Maharshi Ram Swarup ji passed away 1998. These 3 people are considered to be the Trimurti of modern Hindu awakening or Hindu Renaissance, and a Belgian scholar, a thinker, Indologist, Professor Koenraad Elst is continuing their thought process. He himself is a great scholar, original thinker, and he published more than 24 books, and each book is a monument, and when I read it, I cannot fathom how much knowledge he has about India at this age of even 60, 62 or something like that. He's a very great scholar, and the people should read these books. And here I am presenting their thought, Sita Ram Goel ji's thought from his book in my own way with the limitations. The imperialisms, the dominating ideologies on the planet Earth by one group and the other group to which is not related. Language of Christian imperialism. Sita Ram Goel ji identifies 4 imperialisms on the planet Earth: Christianity, Islam, communism, and European imperialism. There are many versions of European imperialism: Russian imperialism, the Danish and Dutch and French and Portuguese, Spanish. Of course, in India, people are more familiar with British imperialism. And he discerns the 8 characters and maps 8 characters to all the 4 imperialism. At one stage in the presentation, We will look at 4 imperialisms side by side and how they map to this character. That's why this is one of the most fascinating book he has ever written. If you read his books, you will get a very broader perspective and you can understand what is going on in the current Indian politics, Rajaniti, and how it is going to denouement is going to happen, the future will be. It's a very intellectual, these are the thinkers, rishis. In Hinduism they call it drishta. That means the people who have vision far ahead of the common person. We'll talk about today the Christian imperialism in language. Among these things we also talk about in general about the poisoned ideology, the deluded belief systems, the closed creeds, closed ideologies. We talk about the hate-filled ideologies under religious banner. We talk about the issue is not at all Christians. Lot of in India people think the problem is with Christians, their constant writing, alienation and criticism of ancient civilization. But the problem is not with Christian convert, the problem is Christianity itself as a closed and aggressive belief system. That means the converts everywhere are trying to erase their past, their ancestral past, and attacking the parent body, the non-converts in that sense. It is a very poisoned ideology. Excuse me. They are deeper in ideation because their ideation is very strong. They were told, they were uprooted from the parent body and given a tag called Christians, and their indoctrinated conditions extensively. That's why they behave. This we have to understand as non-believers. Kafirs in Islam are Gentoos or Gentiles or Heathens in the version of Christianity and Christian converts. We think we briefly discuss about unnatural belief system, Asahaja, very aggressive, very hegemonic, very imperialistic at heart. This is a conversion-based alienation. Converts are hostile to the parent body. It was originally established by the Swordsmen, now propagated by the Salesmen. Proselytization is a word that essentially means conversion. Proselytes are converts. We differentiate between the industrialists having philanthropic organizations. Now, these Christian agents are doing philanthropic proselytization, not the philanthropism of other types, industrial societies. It's a facade of providing medical, health, all these services and selling the Christianity, enforcing on the common people. Mother Teresa in India, largely marketed by the alienated Indians, is one such personality. Essentially, she was in the forefront of vending the Christianity. This ideology of zero value, a fraudulent product that collapsed in the West to the innocent, ignorant, lower sections of the society in India. Christianity has brought unassimilative tendencies to India. That's why Christians are very uncomfortable and very riotous in their nature, very hostile. This has to be recognized by the Hindus and has to be ideologically dealt with. It is at odds with the philosophical and spiritualities of ancient wisdom of Hinduism, Buddhism and so on. The salesmen now have replaced the older swordsmen, and still it is used as a foreign policy weapon. This is a typo here, it's a weapon of the West, and it's like a carrying on the white man's burden versus on the black people. Now the blacks and brown people, the converts, the Christian proselytes in these countries like India, Africa, are used as compradors. They are employed in the local churches and schools and nursing homes and hospitals and used as tools to crusade the parent body and destroy it. This is very, very important. The people who admire the ancient civilizations and native cultures and think these native cultures need to survive has to pay attention on these aspects. And this is not criticism of Christians or anybody. It is a ideological criticism of Christian imperialism. I would like to make that point very clear to my audience. Sita Ram Goel ji, intellectual Kshatriya of modern India, Rogers Sita Ram Goel ji identifies 8 features of imperialism. He maps these 8 features of imperialism to Christianity. We will look at what are these 8 characters. At one stage, we map these 8 characters to Islam and Christianity, communism and European imperialism next to each other, and you will get a very fascinating viewpoint of India's greatest thinker, Sita Ram Goel ji. These features are inscrutable entity, incomparable person, human history is divided into 2, and humanity is itself divided into 2. The land on which humans live is divided into 2. This bands all the converts into a group, and it mandates the whole earth to their legatees, the church. What is the inevitabilities it foresees, and the degree of self-righteousness and accusation of all the crimes. These 8 or 9 points we will map with Christianity. First of all, it sees an inscrutable entity. This inscrutable entity means this entity nobody has seen, verified, or you can verify. It is inscrutable. It is quite hazy, quite virtual. This inscrutable entity, this language talks on his behalf, is a dummy, is called Yahweh. It is a God. Originally in the Bible or Old Testament, Jews used them, but they were not conversion-based people. The religion was for them or anybody who cared about this, and they are quite happy with that. Christianity hijacked that Yahweh, the inscrutable entity of Old Testament, brought into New Testament and turned into very aggressive God, a jealous God, hate-mongering God, or war-mongering God. And that incomparable person on whose behalf this language of Christian imperialism speaks is called Jesus Christ. And he himself is characterized or marketed as a son of Yahweh. And again, there is nobody has seen it. Greeks has millions of gods and they have millions of sons. Roman has millions of gods, thousands of grandsons or sons. They never cared about. This is a very common feature in a very native religion. But here, in this self-righteous belief system, it is projected as something extraordinary. Only son of only God. Later, European scholars, after Renaissance and like carbon dating techniques and historical digging, they found out a character called Jesus Christ has never existed anywhere in that area, like Judea, Samaria, Palestine, today's Israel. This is just a character, a fictitious character, not even a historical person, or nobody came anything close to what Jesus Christ is. So, this incomparable person means in this book, whatever this person says, it is projected as a really great. You have to follow it because he is an incomparable person, supernormal person, abnormal person. In fact, Jesus Christ is nothing but a facade, a mouthpiece of another inscrutable entity called Yahweh, both mutually reinforcing each other. And Christian imperialism, the language, divides the humankind into 2 periods. The period of darkness or darker period and lighter period. When this person was born, in their book, around about 1 AD, now calendars say, the period before the birth of Jesus Christ is called a dark period. After the birth is the light period. And the people who accepted this ideology are first converted, enforced, their children are brought into this belief system are called Christians. Now they were given a different ideation. Previously, they were local ideations like Greeks or Romans based upon the small land area there. Now they were uprooted and they were given an ideation called Christians. They were called Christians everywhere. And the people who didn't hear about this inscrutable entity and uncomparable person and their theological books, the Testaments or Bible, are called Heathens, Gentoos. This is a very, not just a pejorative word, demeaning word. This is a very hate-filled word. If you look original sources and read their original ideas centuries back, you will notice that Heathens or Gentiles or Gentoos they are called. The land itself is divided into Holy Land, where this person is born, Judea, Samaria, Bethlehem, Jerusalem, and all those areas where this person is supposed to have walked or lived or died or crucified. Other lands are called Heathen Lands, the lands of the Gentoos, Gentiles. And also by extension, because after the birth of Jesus Christ for 300-400 years, the ideology lived marginally. Nobody cared it. They were trying to sell these products to the local people. They said, we have a God and we have a son. The locals used to laugh. They had many gods and there are many sons. They said he saved us, and the locals also get their gods saved like that. So they never paid any attention. When this God, the source of the Roman emperor for whatever region, there it was established. That's why some people also consider it's also a holy land. Holy land where their founders, Jesus Christ, is born, or where this ideology is first established by using of the sword, talwas, that is in the Rome. That's also their holy land by extension, extrapolation, and the remaining lands are heathen lands. All these people, the Greeks, the Romans, the French, the British, Iberic, Scandinavic, Germanic, and Slavic, all these people, original converts, the first converts, they're all branded as Christians. That means, and these people have no local identity, have no local language, local civilization. This is not given importance. All these are grouped together everywhere in the planet Earth, from Europe, Africa, North America, Australia. They are branded like a lifeless artificial entity, ideation as a Christians, and they were conditioned extensively by this self-righteous ideology, and they are expected to fight against the non-Christians, heathens. And that is what essentially it is, a banding together of all these converts, irrespective of their racial, ethnic, linguistic, local, geographical, historical heritage or background. And as usual, other important feature of this language of Christian imperialism is the mandate of the earth. The earth, Yahweh created this entire planet earth in 7 days, 7 weeks or something like that. So in essence, this is the Yahweh who created this earth mandated, in essence, India in our context. The book is written, but essentially it's the same. To his son. Who is the son? Jesus Christ is the son of Yahweh, the godling of Bible. And his son, after his crucifixion, again a sub-story, building a story that he was crucified. That was the normal thing. To kill a person who violated laws or whatever it may be, good or bad, during the Roman time, like beheading in many countries or things like that. This sub-story is built like a very big issue, and after his crucifixion, the land, earth, the entire earth was bequeathed to the legatee, the church. Now the church is the legal holder, the legatee, the remaining, all the entire world, whoever not believing this ideology, irrational belief system, are squatters on the land. They need to be dispossessed of it, or, to mildly put it, they should be brought to this party of Yahweh and Jesus Christ as a Christian party and as a church. So, Yahweh mandates that one, and he bequeathed his son. After son crucified, now it is the responsibility of the church, and whoever controls the church, the local leaders, the legatees, they have to do this crusade, the fighting evangelism. So, the ideology, the language of Christian imperialism sees two inevitabilities: the triumph of the church and finally defeat of Gentoos, Gentiles. In this case, a defeat of Hindus. So that is inevitable. The church will triumph and Hindus, Gentoos, non-believers, infidels will be defeated. And this entire ideology, because it is a religious lingo, they suffer with high fever of self-righteousness, called smugness to mindly, or sanctimony. They just think they are the right, you are wrong, because they are using high-flowing lingo, a religious lingo like a church, God, his book, revelation, the prophet, and all this, in a sense, has no value. It's just used in aggressive purposes. So they suffer with a fever of self-righteousness, as Gentoos, non-believers, or any normal person who has his mind intact has to give a little bit sanitization of that, start putting our own ideas and asking the questions, simple questions, that what we are doing right now. That means the only son of the only God and his only son forfeited the lives, the properties, liberties of Hindus, Gentoos, Heathens, everywhere in the world. They have to grow and erase their temples and plant a church, and they have to go and break their idols and destroy their culture, their historical civilizational monuments, their artistic artifacts. All these have no value in the eyes of a proselyte convert. That's what high sense of degree of self-righteousness this language of Christian imperialism preaches. Major issue the language notices is these people, the Gentoos or Heathens everywhere in the world, are accused of sin. This is a very big concept in them. Everybody is a sinner, so they need a savior. Because they are the sinner, they branded him a sinner. So we don't know why they are branded as sinners. They brought a simple story like in the somewhere their Bible, their Adam is there, Eva is there. When the Adam saw Eva undressed or something like that. All this simple, as it became normal philosophical, it has been no problem at all. Every religion has similar stories at all. But that is built as a very big issue in this deluded self-righteous ideology. Sin, everybody is a sinner, they are called. And a sinner needs a savior. And where is the savior? Savior is again a son of an inscrutable entity, Jehovah's only son, and is an inscrutable person. Jesus Christ is a savior. All these sinners, they characterize the entire planet Earth sinners, and they started marketing, selling these saviors. So they covered their aggressive behavior pattern under this high sounding God and prophet and all those things. That is, in general, these 8 characters and how the language of Christian imperialism maps to these 8 characters in the words of the intellectual Kshatriya Rajarshi Sita Ram Goel ji of Voice of India think tank, who passed away in 2003. He strode like a colossus for 4 decades, and the first time he came forward to analyze this in the yogic perspective and give ideological protection to native civilizations of Asia, Africa, North America, South America, Australia, which are under severe ideological attack, military attack, and physical attack by this conversion-based ideology of Islam, Christianity, communism, and Western imperialism. In this book, Sita Ram Goel talks many things, inter alia, among other things. The next language of imperialism to plague India was that of Christian imperialism. The first came to this country, India, in the company of Portuguese. They call explorers. Their explorers, navigators is only one part. There is a next part to that most of the people are not aware. These explorers, navigators were essentially pirates also. And these pirates like Vasco da Gama and Albuquerque, Alfonso and Alameda in the western, like North America, South America, Pizarro, Cortes, and all those people. These Portuguese pirates in Indian sense and priests, and in the opening years of 16th century, around about 1498 or 1500 or so, they came and brought this ideology. Some of these pirates were dressed up as a priests and friars. Priests and friars means a religious type of people. They introduced themselves as the missionaries of the Jesus Christ and started selling this fraudulent product, the product that is a zero value to the innocent society through the use of salesmen and swordsmen. It was the later triumph that they triumphed. The language of Christian imperialism, if you look openly, seriously, with your open mind, took away this religious lingo and just start thinking of a normal mind, you will see it's a very deluded belief system. There is no rationality to it. There is no logic to it. There is no spirituality in it. There is no philosophy. There is no mythology in it. This is a dull and drab 100-page book, theology essentially. This is a closed creed, means it's a closed. It is circular and it is not open for debate. It is not open for discussion as well. Like any other closed system which imposed itself first by the swordsmen of Christianity, propagated in the captive audience, hapless people who are born in this civilization. For centuries they have no intellectual freedom which they enjoyed before this violent belief system was imposed on them. It is a closed creed. It is also very hateful. If you go read the Buddhist or Hindu literature, there is no talk of other religion. Even if other religions are there, Hinduism, Buddhism thinks they are good for those people, they should follow them. There is no hateful, there is no talking of their gods, other gods, the gods of non-Hindus or non-Buddhists, criticism at all. So that is a normal philosophy. Whereas this entire concept of Christianity and Islam, Yogic, is very hate-filled against Gentoos, Gentiles, against Heathens, against non-believers, against non-Christians, against non-Muslims, that is Kafirs. It is essentially hate-filled ideologies. A lot of people in India think during the Hindu-Christian, now the rising, the tension among them is Christians are also becoming a lot of issue, nuisance to the Hindu society. There is a problem with the Christians. But Swarup Sita Ram Goel analyzes them. This is not the problem with the community of the people born there. These are essentially our own people. They are as good as bad like any other person. The problem is with their militant belief system. This militant belief system enforces a militant aggressive behavior pattern on this section, some of them who take this ideology seriously, especially the managers of this ideology, the priestly sections and all those people. So the Swarup Sita Ram Goel's contribution is to take away the debate as Hindu versus Muslim, Hindu versus Christian is not the issue. The issue is the Christianity itself. Issue is aggressive ideology of Islam itself. So rise it to intellectual level, start discussing, debating, asking some simple questions, about his inscrutable entity Yahweh and incomparable person Christ, and its division of the land into two parts, division of history into two parts, and division of mankind into two parts. So asking this serious question. And it is the converts everywhere are erasing their past, their language, their literatures, their heritage, their previous historic gods and monuments. There is no historic gods and historic heritage places, sacred places in Europe at all, in North America at all. Europe is today empty land. North America, South America is empty land. If they want to have a holy land, they have to go to Jerusalem and Bethlehem. Before Christianity was imposed on Europe, there is a plenty of sacred places, holy places in the Greeks' culture, in the Romans' culture. All were erased. So the converts everywhere erase their past. This is also a very important feature of the Christian imperialism, like Islamic imperialism. Because they are indoctrinated every day, it is a deep, they are poisoned. They give a totally different ideation, uproot you from their Greek culture, or Greek, or Iberic, or Slavic, or Germanic, or Scandinavian. And they give you a new ideation called a Christian ideation. And Christian ideation and teaching this every day in church and poisons your mind. After some time, even common person start practicing that, he gets this type of ideation, conditioning, and behavior pattern is conditioned by this belief system. It is essentially Asahaja, a Sanskrit word, means unnatural. All the native North American, South American, Indian civilizations, Chinese, they worshipped the god as a natural god. Start a sun god, a moon god, rain god, a river god. Before Christianity, Islam has replaced them. That is a natural way a human being identified from the nature, because he came from the nature. He is mesmerized and fascinated by the sun and moon and the rain. They worshipped. So in a sense, this ideology is unnatural, artificial ideology, a theological belief system. In a sense, that what Mahayogi Sri Ram Swarup ji says to us from a yogic perspective, from sattvic perspective. These are aggressive belief systems, hegemonic belief system, imperialistic in their heart. They have nothing to do with spirituality. Going and conquering the land, implanting their churches, or converting those people, bringing them into the party of Jesus Christ or Yahweh. They have no interest, and they have zero spirituality. They have no concept of inward journey. A deeper inner exploration is not at all there in this theological belief system. According to native yogic Hindu Buddhist spirituality, Vedic spiritualities, that Mahayogi Ram Swarup brings in criticizing these ideals, which the Western thinkers they lack. Even though Christianity is overthrown and sanitized, it is tamed today after Renaissance from 15th, 16th, 17th centuries, because those European intellectuals, scholars, they missed their parent bodies like a Greek or Roman spiritualities. They look only like a secular way. That is the limitation they have when you study their works. Whereas Ram Swarup, Sita Ram Goel, with their comparative religious studies as serious critics of this monolateral Abrahamic creeds, bring a different perspective that to the audience I would like to introduce, and you can explore it further at their works and website. Converts are everywhere, as usual, very hostile to the parent body. Originally, the Swordsmen established this religion, this ideology. We can give them the credit of religion. The word is not a context. Even though the word religion is used for Hinduism, Buddhism, the same word in India, people use it. That's not a point. But what the content is important. It was essentially enforced by the swordsmen in the 3rd, 4th century, the Roman emperors, whatever their political requirements, they took it in order to build a very good empire, consolidate it and convert it. They found this is very useful and you can pass it under a religious lingo and agitate the people, and various diverse Germanic, Scandinavian, Slavic, Iberic and those type of people now can be given a small single ideation like Christians. That was a part of their agenda and we should look at in that perspective. Swordsmen established this ideology. Now salesmen are trying to sell it, so they're selling it still. And proselytization means a conversion. Proselyte is a convert from a native religion. I use the terms proselyte or proselyte, convert and non-convert in any pejorative sense, not at all. Just to differentiate a converts from the non-converts so that it will be very clear. In industrial societies, they have philanthropy concept like Ford Foundation, Rockefeller Foundation. These industrialists earned a lot of wealth and they wanted to get some tax benefits, etc. And they started putting certain amount of the profits they got in foundations, healthcare, education throughout the world. And they took the same part because, and they start using this is called philanthropic proselytization compared to industrial societies proselytization. This is a philanthropic proselytization. It is used as a facade, easy to sell to a common person. Lot of Indians today in India, they're totally mesmerized by Mother Teresa. Oh, they give medical facilities, healthcare facilities, social services. And what are you doing? They talk about critique the Hindus. And this is a facade because their product is a fraudulent, it is a zero spirituality, it has no value. They are trying to push their product from the back end, giving to these things. That's not the purpose of Christianity. Christianity as a religion has to say what its spiritual ideas, it has a zero. So it is using, because it collapsed in the West, now using philanthropic proselytization to sell this aggressive deluded belief system to the unaware masses in Africa and Asia. This has to be paid attention by any intelligent native person or also a person in the West who want the native civilizations need to be kept intact. Missionaries should not go and convert them. One of that is like Mother Teresa's foundation, essentially philanthropic proselytization. In the broad sense, Sita Ram Goel calls it a vendor of Christianity, a salesperson, a saleswoman selling this product to the local natives, giving a poor quality of education or some hospitals outside facade. So, Christianity has brought very unassimilative tendencies to India. So, there is a contention or right between the Christians and Hindus because these ideas are very unassimilative in any other society unless you uproot the native society, convert them into your own belief system and erase the past. So this is the problem. The problem in Hindu-Muslim riots or Hindu-Christian riots is not the Christians at all. It is unassimilative tendencies Islam, Christianity brought to native civilizations everywhere that are posing the problem. Thinkers has to pay the attention to this very important point. These ideologies are of course at odds with any philosophy or spirituality at all. There is a salesman, saleswoman replacing the previous swordsman. Even though Christianity has not much value in the Europe at all or North America, South America, still it is kept as a foreign policy weapon to browbeat the developing nations' government. So it's a foreign policy weapon. The typo here, W is missing, is the West. It's essentially carrying the white man's burden of civilizing the natives. are the now previously white people like Portuguese used to come to Goa or Gomantak and convert the people and the natives or black people or brown people look at these white people thinking there is issue with white men. Now they stopped that. Instead of that, they purchased the local black and brown people, establishing a church, establishing a school, hospital, employ them permanently, or send their funding through agencies and employ them. These black and brown local converts are used as a compradors, means the dealers, their agents to sell this. Now, locals are selling the same fraudulent product to their fellow locals, sporting the same skin, sporting the same name. This they found is very important, easy, because the locals are not aware. Previously, Goans were very aware when they were coming to their villages. The Portuguese, with their skin color difference, the language, trying to convert them, take away their religion and culture. Now they are not, because these converts, the black and brown converts, are local comprador. This also the Hindus has to pay attention to. They are employed, let loose to evangelize and crusade on the parent body. The large scale religious conversions going on in India today, in Africa, in Sri Lanka and Buddhist countries have a serious ideological implications in the futures. If you forget it, you will be forced to fight. You will be forced, even though you don't like it. Civil wars with these converts. That means non-converts will be forced to fight a civil war with them. Like a non-converts in Punjab and Balochistan were forced to fight riots with them, and finally they were eliminated and sent back. The same thing will happen if you do not pay attention to this belief system. So essentially here I am showing the book Voice of India is an intellectual think tank that was started by Sri Ram Swarup and Mahayogi Ram Swarup ji and Sita Ram Goel ji as a publishing house, a think tank. And they wrote serious authors on the doctrinal level on Christianity and Islam and communism and Western imperialism or European imperialism. That works are considered to be the first class works if you read them, and they have given the yogic perspective, they have given the victim's perspective, not victor's perspective. If you want to know their ideology at deeper level, you have to look at them. So he has written a lot of books, left very great legacy, fortunately for the Hindus or everybody who was interested in conserving the native civilizations. So Sita Ram Goelji's books, Ram Swarup's books and all these things, you can see I have given this, you can stop this video and you can go to that website voibooks.bitbucket.io and look at them. I have taken some of these ideas from Sita Ram Goelji's book here, Perversion of India's Political Parlance. It has a lot of chapters, and I have taken chapter history, the characters of the leftist language that I presented here with certain modifications. The 8 imperialist characters he mentions, the 4th, 5th, and the last, and 7th, and so on. The language of Islamic imperialism he maps to that. Here we talked about language of Christian imperialism and whatever I presented that, and that I got from Voice of India think tank's book of intellectual Kshatriya of modern time, Rajarshi Sita Ram Goel ji, who passed away around about 2003 at a very ripe age of 80s or in his 80s or so. So in a sense, today we talked about language of Christian imperialism. The language has 8 features. It has inscrutable entity that nobody has scrutinized, has no idea of that. Here he hides behind a facade called God. Nobody saw him. That inscrutable entity, which is a characteristic feature of imperialism, dominating ideology and the neighboring societies, is Yahweh. and it is a incomparable person. He is a Jesus Christ. In Bible, he is also advertised as believed or marketed as a son of this inscrutable entity himself. So the only God and his only son. It divides the human history into two parts, the light period and dark period. Before the birth of Jesus Christ, everything is dark. It has to be replaced by biblical ideas, and the light period has to be brought. It divides the mankind into heathens, Gentoos, Gentiles, and Christians. Whoever brought into this pale, their children are nominally brought into their families, cultures, or countries, society, or Christians. Rest are heathens or Gentoos. And it divides the land into holy land where this person is born, or where this ideology is first established by the use of arms. Europe is considered not exactly a holy land, the most important land. The land where your culture and language, everything has to come in that broader sense. The rest of the land is heathen land, predominantly Asia, Buddhist countries, still a lot of African countries. In South America, certain packets is the heathen land. So all the people who are brought into this bandwagon, the ideology, are branded irrespective of their ethnic background or religious background, their cultural background, their racial background, as a monotonous, very artificial existence as a group, as a Christians, and they were told they have to fight against heathens, convert everybody to their belief system. The whole earth, which was created by this inscrutable entity Yahweh, was mandated to his son, that is Jesus Christ, after the son was crucified, and this was bequeathed to church. Now church everywhere, the local church are in charge of that land. They have to convert the remaining people and bring them into church, erase the temples or the monasteries of Hindus and the mandirs of Hindus, implant the churches there as if it's a pious activity, convert those people. And the ideology, language of Christian imperialism sees two inevitabilities. Finally, the triumph of the church, this group, a quorum, an organization, all the believers. The church will be triumph, and the defeat of Gentoos or heathens, here Hindus. It foresees this imperialism, the language of Christian imperialism, foresees this very clearly. And it has a lot of self-righteousness in it, lingo. It uses the concept of God, the holy thing, the Bible, the patriarchs. It thunders a lot, throwing a very high-sounding, self-righteous, smug words, sanctimonious words for nothing. Emptiness is there, but they use as if they are very right and you are totally wrong. This makes a lot of non-Christians very uncomfortable. They think they are missing something. Just keep quiet and start asking the question. Don't be carried away by this religious lingo. This self-righteous lingo says the only God and his only son has forfeited the lives, the properties, liberties of Hindus and heathens, and they need to be converted. And this language of Christian imperialism accuses the major crime. The major crime in case of Islam is shirk, that is polytheism, worshipping of idols. In case of Christianity, major crime that humanity does, in a sense, the heathens do is sin. They are sinners, and they are suffering with sin. And these guys come forward with the medicine of Christianity to erase their sin, to cure this sin. So this is a very self-righteous religious lingo. And we also briefly discussed about deluded beliefs, the closed creeds, hate-filled ideologies. Issue is not Christians at all. Issue is the belief system itself. We should concentrate, discuss, debate, rationalize, sanitize, and tame it, take away the self-righteousness from their mind. It poisons them because they are indoctrinated every day. They were given new ideation. They were uprooted from the parent body and brought into a new ideation called Christian. So it gives a deeper ideation. That's why they behave like that. Their violent, riotous behavior pattern has backing of their religious belief system. Behavior pattern is backed by the religious system. That's what we have to understand and pay attention to the belief system ideology. This is Asahaja. Ram Swarup ji says that means unnatural, very aggressive, very hegemonic, very imperialistic at heart, is a conversion-based ideology. Alienates the converts from their local roots and civilization, history and heritage, and eventually the converts, the Christians, the proselytes, turn hostile to the parent body. They start fighting everywhere. Originally established by the Swordsmen, the Roman emperors, later lot of other dynasties, and now sold by the salesmen, the priests, prelates, the friars in their countries. Proselytization is a conversion. What now they started is a philanthropic proselytization, doing the conversions of the natives under the guise of pretentious philanthropy, medical, health care, hospital, so on. Mother Teresa, Sita Ram Goel ji says, one such vendor of Christianity. What she is doing is vending this third-rate product to ancient civilization, civilized land. That's how you have to look at it. However, she may be decorated with whatever prizes, whatever books are written, she is essentially a vendor of Christianity to the ancient civilization, vending this product, like vending the soap, vending the paste, or anything like that. Christianity has brought unassimilative tendencies to India. That's why the Christian converts are posing a problem. They are making our lives very uncomfortable in every place. This has to be paid very close attention, because Christianity has no spirituality, no philosophy, no mythology. It is at odds with philosophy and spirituality. Unlike even the ancient Greek religion, Roman religion has a substantial amount of spirituality and philosophy. They were not conversion mongering, they were not hate mongering, they were not close to Christ at all. So the salesmen and saleswomen replaced the swordsmen of olden days. Still, the Christianity is kept as a foreign policy weapon by the Western governments. The white men preaching them now replaced by, they purchase the black, brown people in Asia and Africa and employ them in their institutions, means the churches they build locally in Asia, Africa, hospitals, and used as intellectual compradors, selling this product to the locals with local the names and local skin color, so that the natives are not that much suspicious. This also has to be paid in attention. They are employed and let loose on the parent body as evangelists, as crusaders with the foreign help and their ideological backing. That's what we discussed very broadly about the language of Christian imperialism today, and previously I also covered Islamic imperialism in the broad sense with these 8 characters. You can find that video presentation in the playlist of imperialism or appropriately. And today we continued our second part, the language of Christian imperialism, and dissected and presented to the audience. And I really appreciate your future subscriptions and patronizing our educational channel, where I continue to bring the Indian heritage, culture and civilization geography, south of Karakoram Mountains, north of Kanyakumari, to our audience in the form of icons, images, maps, that is South Asia maps. This is your presenter JRD, and see you later in the other presentations.